Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Get out there, play hard, enjoy those games.
Welcome in to Go Big or Go Home. I'm Old Man Troy, joined by Papa Youngster. Yes, proud Papa, Kevin Cunningham. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Yeah, my wife had our daughter 2 weeks and 3 days ago.
Yeah, right by my birthday, youngster. It was close. It was so close.
Kind of.
So close.
November 19th.
At least we got the same birthday month. And she'll be like, when she's like 10, she'll be like, who really cares? Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
You're like old and decrepit. That's what she'll say.
Yes. But
she's still not dating my grandson.
No. We'll keep that.
You and I will both put a kibosh to that. That's just not happening.
Yes. No. I agree with you, old man. But yeah, all is well. It's been, obviously a few weeks since I have done this show, and I think the same for you, Troy.
I skipped the show 2 weeks ago because I did the radio solo, but for Go Big, you're like you're the guy that brings up the stats. I just give my old man opinion. And honestly, and I'll be honest with the listeners today, I am too effing lazy to go look at all the stats. But not even that. I also don't have time.
Right. Part of it is time. Part of it is we do this show, and again, it points to time that we do this show when you're on the road. So, I mean, you double-checking, fact-checking your stats while you're driving on the highway for a BigTen show, it's not ideal. So for me to be sitting here in front of a computer is much more
not feasible. I mean, and again, I want the listeners to know I'm safe when I do the show. I Bluetooth it. I am a hands-free device. I got both hands on the wheel except when I'm drinking my Rockstar. Then I only got one on the steering wheel.
Then you put your feet on the wheel. Oh, yeah.
And we've been doing it this way for years. So
yes, we have.
But now we're back. A lot's happened since baby was born. We got the college football playoff is set. The Big Ten championship is over. Your Buckeyes weren't in the championship. A lot to talk about. And we have to finish our Big Ten basketball preview.
Yeah, we do.
Not today.
Preview, no, that basketball preview will come another day. But yes, we do have to do that. We have to finish with the top half, quote unquote, of the conference. And conference basketball play has already started. By the way, we're, I believe, one game in to the Big Ten basketball season in terms of inter-conference play. So college basketball is happening, and I just wanted to give an extremely quick update on college basketball. We're talking 99% college football on today's show, but as of today, Purdue is the unanimous number one team in the country.
As they should be.
Yes, I agree. Duke has fallen. They were number one last week, and Gonzaga has lost twice. Baylor is 8-0. They're at number 2 in the country now. But, yes, Purdue is at number 1 currently as we're doing the show on December 6th. Purdue has looked fantastic. They haven't, killed every team by 30-plus and looked, amazing every single minute of every game. No team does. But they have looked really good. And that's why they're the number one team in the country as of now. we'll see what happens a week from now. But, yes, Big Ten basketball is it's certainly interesting, and Purdue at number 1 makes it even more interesting. I'm looking down the...
I got to throw this out, youngster, and we got to give our sponsor, Interpeak Coffees, a shout-out. As we know, the owner resides in Wisconsin, Shane. So thank you to Interpeak Coffee. Go check them out, interpeakcoffee.com. They sponsor all of our... I really, youngster, thought this Badger team this year was going to be like in a, let's figure out how we want to move forward. We lost all of our really veteran players. This Wisconsin team is impressing me right now. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to, well, and again, it's non-conference, but they won the Maui Invitational.
They played Houston, who was ranked 12th. They played Marquette. They went to Georgia Tech. I know Georgia Tech's up and down. They beat St. Mary's. St. Mary's is always a quality team. They beat Texas A&M. The one loss is to Providence, who's always a quality team. So I think they're doing well. There's a reason why they're ranked 22nd.
And again, they're just exceeding what I thought. I really thought this Badger team would be around 500.
Right.
Now, granted, conference play hasn't started yet for them. But what I've seen so far is I think Greg Gard has actually, and I don't mean to go off to be a Wisconsin homer, but this is a Big Ten show. So I can talk about my favorite team because it relates to the show. Greg Gard has a player in Davis. And I think Gard has kind of changed offensively a little bit to give this kid a little more reign on the offensive side of the court. Now, there's still going to be that feisty defense. But it just seems like Davis can knock down shots. This is a guy that you can look at, kind of like when Kaminsky was there in the middle, go-to guy. This guy, every game, is coming up with the shots. This guy's making baskets.
He's leading the team in points, rebounds, assists, and steals this year. Wow,
and that's why I'm saying, normally you're thinking Badger basketball, slow it down, possession, we're going to maximize, be efficient, we're going to take the shot clock down. They still do to a sense, but part of me is I wish I could actually ask Gard if that kind of is eliminated when the ball's in Davis's hand. Like if he's got a good look, 5 seconds into the shot clock, can he take the shot? Because that hasn't been Wisconsin basketball, but I've noticed that this guy's taking jumpers. This guy is able to score, rebound. He's able to do it all. Now, I'm not saying he's like super All-American, future Hall of Fame NBA player, but the guy is certainly doing it well for Wisconsin right now. And I just think Gard has changed a little bit offensively where he has, I'm going to air quote, a superstar perimeter player that can actually get it done. They've had some good ones in the past. But I'm telling you, I watched this guy. I think he's special. I really believe he is a special player.
I have not seen him. Well, I know I saw him play at some point last year because he was a sophomore. And he played 24 minutes a game. He was a bench guy. But he played 24 minutes a game. I don't think we mentioned the name Johnny Davis last year.
Not once.
Again, so this year, I mean, he jumped from 7 points a game to 20 now. And, again, all of his numbers are up. So it's very impressive, the leap he has taken. And part of that, too, is due to you being a 6th, 7th man or you being a go-to guy. But like you're saying, obviously Gard has, potentially tweaked his offense a bit in letting Davis do more of his own thing rather than, playing exactly the way Wisconsin basketball has the last umpteen years. So I need to honestly watch Wisconsin basketball play. I haven't seen Johnny Davis play this year, just being honest, but I need to.
And again, I'm saying I don't even know if that's what Gard has done, and maybe he's just playing within the realm of the offense, and it just seems to me that this guy, put the ball in his hand and good things are going to happen. It's just every game that I've watched. And this is what I got to say, youngster. We've been doing this show. This is year number, 6? for Go Big?
Yeah. Yes.
You're 6. When is the last time that I said I watched Wisconsin basketball during the foo-foo schedule?
Yeah, basically never.
I've watched 5 games this year, and or listened on the radio because of my, schedule. When's the last time I've done that in the non-conference?
Yeah, no.
It's been a while. I think the last time was probably when Dick Bennett was the coach. That tells you how long ago that was.
Mm-hmm.
All right, move on. I know we didn't want to spend a lot of time on basketball, but being in Wisconsin, our sponsors in Wisconsin, Shane loves Wisconsin sports, InterPeakCoffee.com. Got to give a little love to the Badgers since they're doing so well early in the season.
Last thing I want to mention with basketball. So, again, Purdue's number 1 right now as of December 6th. We're recording the show. The second highest-ranked Big Ten team, Troy, is Michigan State, who, we talked about how Michigan State was kind of searching for an identity this year, and they're already the second highest-ranked team. That being said, they are ranked 19th, so there's quite a gap for the Big Ten, being ranked first and being ranked 19th in terms of the highest-ranked team in the Big Ten, the second highest-ranked team, so it's very weird. I don't remember that ever happening. 18 spots difference between the first and second highest-ranked teams. Very odd. But anyway, Ohio State's 21, Wisconsin's 22. That rounds out the top 25 for the Big Ten as of now. But in any case, let's move to football, Troy. I believe that the last week that we previewed, and we're obviously not going to go through all these games at all, but the last week that we previewed for college football and the college football season was week 11, which was the week of November 13th, because the next Saturday's games would have been the 20th, which was the day after my daughter was born. So, again, we did not do shows the last, 2 weeks now, pushing 3 weeks in terms of time recording. But so the reason I bring that up is because we did have Rutgers +7, and Rutgers won that game at Indiana 38-3. So we did cover that spread. We did very well there. Yes.
Woo!
So on the season.
Oh, youngster! By the way, now that you said that, I got to tell you, the Oneida Casino has legalized sportsbook in Wisconsin. I now have, I can't do it online. I have to physically be at the casino to get the app. But I can now go to the casino and I can bet on games. I am so excited. I am so excited.
How far is that from you? How far away is that?
That's maybe a 10-minute drive. This is across town.
Oh, well,
by the airport.
Fantastic.
Yeah, right by the airport.
Oh, there you go.
It's awesome. It is so awesome.
I'm happy.
I thought I had to throw it in there. Now that we're talking about the spreads, I totally forgot.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love the betting. I love the betting. So I told my wife I'm probably going to retire in 2 weeks just because I want to go bet at the casino.
There you go. Well, I'm happy for you, Troy. So not going to go over week 12 or 13, but I guess let me click on week 12 here and just very quickly go over anything. By the way, one more basketball thing while it just popped into my head. Mark Turgeon is gone as the Maryland head coach. I think they're playing like 500 basketball. They were supposed to be a pretty good team this year, but they started out pretty shady, and so Mark Turgeon is gone at Maryland as of, I think, yesterday, I believe. So that's, Big Ten college basketball news there when a coach gets fired.
Well,
especially.
Okay, now you brought another thing up. That's why every time you bring up stuff, I got to give my 2 cents.
Okay.
I'm real curious about this, though, youngster, because, it's non-conference, not meeting expectations, but you still have Big Ten to play, right? I'm wondering if there wasn't...
I read a stat.
I'm just wondering if there's something internal.
Maybe. I read a stat, too, though, that the last 10 years, Maryland has made one Sweet 16. So, I mean, for the last 10 years now, they haven't been exactly thrilled with where the program has ended up, and then you're starting this year, and expectations are, yep, this is a tournament team, no question. And you're playing like 500 basketball out the gate. It's like, well, what the hell's going on out here? So and
that's why I'm just saying it's kind of odd before the conference season starts that you get rid of your coach. That's why I'm wondering if there isn't something internally that happened with this team that caused this, because it's not often we see in the middle, especially basketball, even football. I mean, yeah, it happens, but football is the moneymaker.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time that you and I talked about a coach being fired in college basketball, not just the Big Ten, in college basketball during the season. I can't remember.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
It's just very odd to me.
Yeah.
So I think there's something else that may leak out down the road, because you can't just say, oh, well, your team is sucking. But maybe you lost the locker room, too. Maybe the players, in today's world, maybe the players went to the AD and said, we don't want to play for this guy. I hate to say that, but in today's world, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. Like, we don't want to play for this guy.
Right. Maybe.
Carry on.
So I'm not going to go through week 12 or 13 for football here, and we'll talk more basketball, news and hirings and firings and whatnot when we talk about the preview show, and obviously when college football has concluded. And in the next couple weeks, we may start gearing the show toward basketball. Obviously, bowl season is around the corner, but it's bowl games. It's truly, and I'm an Ohio State fan, and they're in the Rose Bowl. That's fantastic. But how long are we going to talk about Ohio State in the Rose Bowl in terms of previewing the game? And honestly, it's, if you're an Ohio State diehard fan, then you care, I guess. But I consider myself a big Ohio State fan.
Not really. That's not the bowl you want to be in.
Right. So it's, and even if it's, Rutgers making a bowl game, and it's, they didn't. They finished 5-7, unfortunately. But even if it's Rutgers making a bowl game and it's big news, like, yeah, we'll talk about it, we'll mention it, but for how long? Not that long. So we will, I think, start gearing the shows more toward basketball. Obviously, we will give Michigan, their time. When the time comes for the semifinal at the end of December 31st, is when they play the number 3 ranked team in the country, which is Georgia. Certainly we'll talk more at length about that because, again, it's a Big Ten team in the college football playoff. Like I said, I'm an Ohio State fan, but good for Michigan for representing the Big Ten, and we'll talk about the Big Ten title game in a second here, but we do have a team to talk about for the college football playoff, so obviously we'll talk more about that when the time comes. But anyway, so for Big Ten football, I just kind of wanted to run through, I guess, the standings here and kind of the final standings. In the East, obviously, Michigan was on top, and they finished number 2 in the country. Ohio State at 6 in the country. When they went to Ann Arbor and lost a couple weeks ago, that was, again, I'm an Ohio State fan. That was very frustrating for me personally, but it is what it is.
So what do you say, youngster?
Yes.
Do you remember what I said at the beginning of the year? I can't remember exactly, but people wanted Harbaugh gone, right? Harbaugh can't win the big game. Harbaugh this, Harbaugh that. Didn't I say, wouldn't it be nice if he beat Ohio State this year and flipped everyone the bird and left?
Right. Yeah.
We've talked about Harbaugh at Michigan. We went over the record, and I understand you want to beat Ohio State. And my gosh. And you know what? Congratulations, Michigan. But they really act like they won the damn Super Bowl. You beat Ohio State, now you're probably going to get thrusted by Georgia. I'm just saying. And honestly, youngster, if the frickin' Badgers would have done what they needed to do, I think the Badgers could have beat Michigan, and then we wouldn't be here hailing Harbaugh that he's in the playoffs. I really believe Wisconsin would have beat Michigan. And you sent me a text, freaking Iowa. Well, Iowa can't score points, youngster. We know that.
I tweeted before the game started that I'm a Big Ten guy. I host a Big Ten show, and this matchup was boring to me. And it's again.
I watched 20 minutes of the game, youngster. I watched 20 minutes.
Yeah, maybe I watched 20 minutes. Maybe. I worked early the next day.
I just followed. I followed it on my computer.
Yeah. I worked early the next day. I honestly watched the first, 5 minutes of the game time. And that was it. I saw Michigan was up 7-0. I literally said out loud to my wife, well, this game's over. Because Iowa can't score. Their offense, it's not as though their offense was average this year. Their offense is bad. They have a bad offense.
It sucked.
And it was kind of, honestly, it's kind of embarrassing to have Iowa represent the Big Ten in the Big Ten title game. It would have been much more interesting if it was Wisconsin. It would have been much more interesting, honestly, in my opinion, if it were Purdue, because at least Purdue could score. Iowa can't score. Their defense.
Well, and the thing is, though, youngster, that's why I'm saying Wisconsin would have been a hard matchup because Mertz was starting to play better. Allen was really running the ball well. That offensive line was gelling. They laid an egg in the last game of the year. A freaking egg. I was already counting on them. You and I text before the game. Buckeyes, Badgers, here we go.
Right.
I mean, and I want to say this. And again, shout out to Interpeak Coffee. Shane's the owner. Big Badger guy. He probably holds the same sentiment. I don't want to talk to him. Our sponsor, Interpeak Coffee. Go check them out, Interpeak. But my expectation of this Badger team, youngster, to be in the Big Ten championship game. So, 8-4, going to Las Vegas, disappointing for me. Not a good year. Not a good year. Not happy. Not even going to watch the bowl game. My expectation of this team is to play in the Big Ten championship every year. And people can say, well, that's kind of a lofty expectation. No, it's not. They lose to damn Nebraska. Oh, my gosh. Oh, Minnesota, I mean. They lose to Axe. Oh, I get all worked up. I just get worked up because they had it right there. And Minnesota has a good team. But, my gosh. Oh. My point is now, though, youngster, where I was going with this. Harbaugh has done everything that the naysayers said he couldn't do last year, and everybody is ready to ride Harbaugh out of Ann Arbor.
Like the last 3 years.
So,
I mean, at least 2.
So is he going to get a 10-year extension, or is this one of those things where, and I'm being serious, if I was Harbaugh, I would literally put both middle fingers up at a booster meeting or on Instagram and say, boop, going back to the NFL. I mean, he's been treated like, well, this is a podcast, so I'm going to say this. He's been treated like shit because he can't beat Ohio State. Now he's beloved. I mean, think about yourself, and listeners, I want you to think about this. You keep getting crapped on at work because you can't do this and you can't do that, and finally you do it. Oh, and everybody's patting you on the back. We knew you could do it. We knew you could do it. I'd be like, F you. I knew I could do it the whole time. Just didn't happen. You guys wanted me out of here. I don't know. Maybe I'm old school in that way, but, man, the guy's been, like, and nobody giving him a chance. Now everybody's patting him on the back. Oh, gee, Harbaugh, you're the man. You're the man. No, I'd be like, fuck you. Sorry. Carry on.
Terrible, Troy. Terrible. Speaking of 10-year
extensions. It's a podcast. That's why I let the F word flow out. It's a podcast. But no, so before we carry on, though, just answer that youngster about that feeling, that as a person. How would you feel
No, yeah,
getting
absolutely.
crapped on. Sudden you do something good, and now, oh yeah, how would you feel? I mean, let the listeners know. Not from a Harbaugh perspective, from your perspective, youngster. That'll be like you going to work and you're putting out bad produce, but that's what's in on the truck. Finally, you get it all good, and everybody's patting you on the back. How would you feel?
No, I 100% agree with what you're saying. Yeah, I'd be salty at those naysayers, for sure. Yeah, I would have the same reaction that you have just laid out over the last couple minutes.
All right.
So.
Sorry I went off, but before I text you, I already had 3 rock stars at work. I'm on my 4th one right now.
Well, there you go.
Just like
Speaking of 10-year extensions, James Franklin, as of 2 weeks ago, signed a 10-year extension. By the way, Penn State this year went 7-5. So, just saying. We can make this show, because we have missed the last 3 weeks. We can make this show probably 10 hours, really, if we seriously wanted to. I need to, be mindful that I have a baby in the next room, so not going to have that happen. But there's a lot of stuff that went on that we're not going to touch on this show that happened the last 3 weeks. But again, James Franklin got a 10-year extension, so that is a thing. So standings-wise, again, I was running through the East. Ohio State finished 6th. Michigan State finished 10th in the country. And then you've got unranked Penn State, and then Maryland, Rutgers, and then Indiana. Indiana went 0-9 in conference this year. Part of that is the schedule. Part of that is Michael Penix getting hurt for the last 7-8 games, whatever it was. But certainly a disappointing season for the Hoosiers in the Big Ten West. Iowa obviously finished on top at 7-2 in the conference, 15th in the country. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Purdue, Illinois, Nebraska, and then Northwestern, all unranked. And Minnesota, Wisconsin, Purdue all finished 8-4. So, those 3 teams, I mean, Minnesota, I think, exceeded expectations. I think Purdue exceeded expectations. I think Wisconsin, like you said, Troy, did not play up to expectations, because I think, as they should be, it should be making the Big Ten title game or bust, just like my Ohio State Buckeyes, and the expectations that either they win the national title or it's a bust. There's no getting to the title, playing Alabama and losing and being happy with that. You're pissed. That's what happened last year, and that's not acceptable. Depending on your team, expectations are different. And as an Ohio State fan, your expectation is to either win the national title or the season's a bust. That's just the way it goes. Rutgers has different expectations. Michigan has different expectations. Wisconsin has different expectations. Northwestern has every team in the country has different expectations. But that's just the way it goes. So, and Nebraska lost every single game this year. They finished 3-9. All 9 of their losses were less than 10 points.
Isn't that amazing, though, youngster?
Were 1-possession games, yeah. The same thing went for Penn State, by the way. I think all 5 of their losses this year were less than 10 points apiece, I believe.
But at the end of the day, if you don't do a podcast or you don't host a sports show and you're just looking at records, you're like, oh, that team sucks.
Right.
I mean, Nebraska was in games into the 4th quarter. And so, we talked about Scott Frost, and it's like, oh, man, is this really the right gig for him? He's a Nebraska guy. Maybe they'll hang with him. I didn't think the team was that bad. And I know Martinez now, they're going to have to move on, right? I think Martinez is done, correct?
Yeah, he's in the transfer portal.
So that might not be a bad thing for Scott Frost. It might not be. Because he inherited Martinez. And now he can go out and get his guy. And again, he's already had a couple years. But you look at how close they were this year, youngster. I mean, sometimes you just have that bad luck, right? Yeah. One turnover here, a missed field goal there. Well, a targeting penalty on the first play of the game. I put my hands above my mouth. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about, do you, youngster?
I don't.
Go back and read the recap of the Wisconsin-Minnesota game. Targeting call, knocking out the starting safety. He went shoulder pad, didn't lead with the helmet, led with his shoulder pad. Should it have been unnecessary roughness? Yes. Targeting? No. But I think that's what derailed the Badgers. First pass play of the game. Bam! Starting safety out for targeting.
Right. By the way, State.
Go ahead.
Penn State did lose all 5 of its games by single digits. Actually, 4 of the 5 were within 4 points. And Ohio State was 9 points. So Penn State was in there, every single game as well. But Nebraska's, it's just even more drastic because they finished 3-9. So, but yeah, I think resetting, with the new quarterback and their defense played well all year against everybody. I think absolutely Nebraska played better football this year than they did a year ago. There's no question. At best year they've had under Scott Frost, whether the record says it or not, whether they went 1-8 in Big Ten play or not. Points allowed in the Big Ten. Nebraska scored 239 points in Big Ten play. They allowed 239 points in Big Ten play. They went 1-8. I mean, part of that is just, part of that, like you said, is just luck. Ball bouncing, targeting call, bad flag, bad pass interference, a bad turnover, a missed kick, whatever it is. That's just, you don't score the same amount of points as you give up and go 1-8 in 9 games.
No. And so here's the thing, though, youngster. Scott Frost has to figure out how to win those games.
Yeah.
And my thing is that I think he can. We talked about, maybe he's going to get fired. Maybe. I don't think you fire the guy. That's my thing. I mean, people want instant gratification. Oh, my God, we're 3-9. We suck. No, actually, you hit it on the head, youngster. This was probably the most competitive Nebraska team that Frost has had during his tenure.
Absolutely.
The wins aren't there, but as far as competitiveness and a chance to win, this was the best team. So if you look at that and throw the records out, has the program shown progress? My answer, yes, it has.
Yeah.
So keep the guy around and let him do his thing. But you and I both know, youngster, college sports, whether it's basketball or football, is driven by the boosters. The boosters are going to make the decision and put the pressure on the athletic director. I hate to say that, hate to be that guy that brings that up, but that's reality. It really is. Carry on.
Moving to the Big Ten title game quickly here. Michigan, Iowa. Michigan won 42-3.
What?
Again, this was
Iowa scored 3 points?
Yeah, they scored 3 points in the first quarter.
It was close. It was close early.
I'll say this: it was 14-3 going into halftime too. So Iowa was.
It was close early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
You're flabbergasted. You're like speechless. You don't even know where to go from there.
The game here. I mean, again, I tweeted before the game started that this is just a bad matchup. It's not fun. It's boring. It's not interesting to me. Now, again, I'm an Ohio State guy. Michigan, Georgia, that's interesting. If Michigan played Alabama, that's interesting. If Michigan played Cincinnati, that's interesting. If Michigan played Wisconsin, interesting. If Michigan played Purdue, interesting. I would have watched. I had no entertainment interest in watching Michigan, Iowa.
Hey, youngster, you want to know what game I switched my TV to on Saturday night?
What's that?
The Jackson State game, the SWAC Conference Championship.
That's when you know it's bad. That's terrible.
I'm just saying that game was more interesting to me. And the thing is, in our house, my wife's not going to put football in the living room on the big TV, right? So I got to go back over to the little man cave, right, and put the game on. Walk back there every once in a while. Yeah, I switched it over to the Jackson State game. That was more interesting to me than the Big Ten championship game. And I host a podcast for the Big Ten. I've done it for 6 years, but I got Jackson State on Saturday night and not the Big Ten championship.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah. So moving on past the Big Ten title game, I think that's the quickest, unless you have more, Troy, that's the quickest we have ever gone through a Big Ten championship game.
There's nothing to talk about.
No.
Iowa stinks.
Really not.
But here we go. Okay, I got to say this. I have to say this, though. So now Kirk Ferentz is now all beloved because he got to the Big Ten championship game.
I don't
Kirk
think
Ferentz is beloved. He was in the Big Ten championship game. But hey, he didn't get embarrassed. Who cares? They lost. Who cares? He got there. You know what? You got embarrassed.
I don't know if any Iowa fan is happy with getting to the Big Ten title game and losing by 40. I don't know.
They're going to give him a 10-year extension. I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it goes.
Youngster, I think I've been saying this since we started this show. Ferris needs to go.
No, I agree.
He needs to go. They backed their way into the Big Ten championship. They backed their way in.
Yeah.
And look what happened. There's your measuring stick if you're an Iowa fan. Okay, whatever your record is, but look how you compete against top teams in the country. Not good.
Right. No.
And if that's what you want, fine. That's what you're going to get. Now, granted, people can argue with me because I'm a Badger fan, and they were dismantled how many times in the championship game by Ohio State? Okay, I'll take that lump. But guess what? I'm being a realist. Wisconsin is not on the same page as Ohio State. I'm not expecting the Badgers in the national championship every year. Like you said, youngster, Ohio State fans expect a national championship. I expect a Big Ten championship, and 9 times out of 10, Ohio State is more talented than Wisconsin, and it's going to be 56-20. I realize that, but I watched the game hoping that Ohio State has a meltdown and the Badgers can somehow pull off a win. Iowa played Michigan, and they got embarrassed.
Yeah.
I guarantee if Wisconsin was there, it wouldn't have been 200-0. I think Wisconsin would have won. You said it before. Purdue, Michigan probably would have been a better game than this one.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So my point to this is, youngster, why is Ferentz going to get an extension on his contract and continue to coach the Hawkeyes? And I seriously don't hate Kirk Ferentz. I don't hate him.
I think it's a personal relationship thing with him and the people that truly matter, whether that's boosters, whether that's the AD, whoever it is, university president. I don't know who it is, but whoever keeps stringing along extensions, clearly it has to be a personal thing, because play on the field doesn't show that this program is really.
Youngster, am I wrong about this? Now, if it would have been Iowa, Ohio State, we're thinking a 40-point blowout. I mean, that would have been a 40-point blowout, right? But it's Michigan. But I'm just saying, that's the reality if you go to the past championship games. Ohio State is always more talented than everybody else in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You got a blessing. Wisconsin lost. You got into the championship, and then you got a better blessing because Michigan got into the Big Ten. How could you not want anything else on the platter?
Yeah.
I'm just saying this was the year.
I think Michigan's really good this year, but I agree with you that you're not playing a team in Michigan that is so much more talented than you. Ohio State's more talented than Michigan. Doesn't mean you win. That's I mean, you see that in March Madness every single year, many, many times, that the more talented team doesn't win. And again, in football, it's, one game, that's it. It's done. It's over. And Michigan physically beat Ohio State in Michigan when it was cold and it was snowy and the conditions weren't perfect. Michigan was bigger and badder and created more holes for their running game than Ohio State did. They were better. They played way better than Ohio State did.
On that day. So let's play that same game this Saturday, youngster. Does Michigan win again? Maybe not.
Maybe not.
And I know you
Michigan's
talked about
really
it all
good.
year. You said this year that this was the year that you thought Ohio State was down. Like, down from the level that they've been at, that top 4 level.
Defensively,
you still thought they were a
first
top 4
games.
team, but talent-wise, NFL talent-wise, you've said number of times throughout the year, this is not the same type Ohio State team that we've seen in the past.
Defensively, yeah. Offensively, they were fantastic.
Yeah, Stroud's good.
But,
you got him. You got him for a couple more years, my friend.
By the way, the number 1 overall recruit who skipped his senior year of high school, Quinn Ewers, for the class of 2022, he enrolled for 2021 at Ohio State. He was a backup this year because of Stroud, and he is also in the transfer portal. So he recognizes that this is Stroud's job going forward the next year or two. So
you can't blame the kid, young. You can't blame the kid.
No.
See, and that's where I look at this transfer portal stuff, and to me that makes sense. Because I was an athlete, I want to play. If I would have went to the great University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, and I would have been there, and I was behind a guy that was a freshman, and coach
theoretically, you're sitting until your senior year, at best.
I don't want to do that. I want to play. My road to playing at Whitewater, I redshirted my freshman year. Do you think I wanted to redshirt? I played in 4 state tournaments, youngster, in high school. And the thing is, I went there. I'm like, do you think I want to? I don't want to practice every day and not play. But then coach said, look, the guy ahead of you is a senior. Redshirt this year, then you can play 4 more years. I'm like, whoa, great.
Right.
Love it. And I had a great career there. But if that guy would have been a freshman or a sophomore, I would have been like, this is bullshit. I'm not going to play for 3 years. So I understand that. And that, to me, that's where that transfer portal is actually worthwhile for some guys. To be able to get out, to go to a school and actually play. Because as an athlete, you want to play. If you're good enough to play at the level, then you should be able to play at the level.
Yeah, kind of like Jamison Williams, who was going to be Ohio State's 4th receiver this year because of how great Ohio State's receiving core is this year. He was going to be their 4th receiver, but instead he transferred to Alabama, and now he's their number 1 receiver this year.
Yeah.
So there you go. Just throwing that out there. Let's move on to bowl games very quickly. Not going to go through the matchups, but I just want to read them off. 9 Big Ten teams are playing in bowl games or college football playoff games this year, which is, at the end of the day, that's fantastic. 9
that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah. So, Minnesota against West Virginia, December 28th in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Again, not going to go through these games matchup-wise. We'll get there eventually, but that is the earliest Big Ten bowl game is December 28th, which is,
we'll
again,
preview them when the time comes.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, though, you went through one. I should have stopped you before that. Honestly, youngster, when you're going through this, how many of these bowl games are you going to watch?
I'm sure I'll turn on half of them, and they'll be on in the background.
Okay,
yeah, actually,
so on in the background.
Watch all 4 quarters, and not.
That's where I wanted to go. Are you going to sit down and watch any of these bowl games?
The Rose Bowl, because it's I'll say this, Troy, that if Ohio State was playing in the Sugar Bowl against whoever, I wouldn't pay as much attention. The Rose Bowl, to me, it's visually appealing to watch. It's different. And it's Ohio State.
No, it's a big game, and that's why, as a Badger fan, I've been blessed. I was blessed with Barry Alvarez bringing the Badgers back to the Rose Bowl, and I got shivers because back in the day, before the college football playoff, and Barry Alvarez going to the Rose Bowl was almost like the Packers playing in the Super Bowl. Right. So, as a Wisconsin sports fan, you realize that. To other people, the way the bowls have been separated now, though, youngster, it's still a big deal if you're an old-school Big Ten person. The Rose Bowl is special. But I think to the general public and a lot of fans, the Rose Bowl means nothing anymore. Like, there's a big parade, blah, 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 but that used to be, they call it the granddaddy of them all.
I think
that's what they call it.
Yeah, Big Ten and Pac-12 fans, that's it's a big game if your team is in there. And it's Ohio State. It's a tragedy that we lost to Michigan and we're playing in the Rose Bowl. It's still the Rose Bowl, so I will watch. I don't care what teams are in there. I'm going to watch the Rose Bowl. So.
Yeah, and then they can win and they can hang the banner Rose Bowl champion. And that's special. I mean, if you look at the history of the Big Ten, like Rose Bowl champion, you didn't win the national championship, right? But to be able to hang a banner that you're Rose Bowl champion and put that trophy in your trophy case for the nostalgia and the history of the Big Ten, that means something. That really does.
For me being 30 years old, that means nothing. But the Rose Bowl is it is different. It's special. It's cool to watch. Again, Ohio State expectations, and at the end of the day, you're seeing that you won the Rose Bowl and you weren't even in the playoff. It's not, to me.
No, I understand, and that's where I'm going with this, youngster. Is your generation where you're at? Yeah. That's your thought. But for guys that are 50 plus like me, the Rose Bowl is different. I will watch the Rose Bowl. And how often do I watch Ohio State, youngster? How often?
I don't
Never.
know.
Never.
Okay.
Well, unless they play Wisconsin. Yeah, well, we do a Big Ten show. My point is, I will watch the Rose Bowl because it's the Rose Bowl, and that is the Big Ten bowl game that I grew up with, and that's what everybody wanted to do. They wanted to get to the Rose Bowl. Now it's the college football playoff, which is fine. But in my day, winning the Rose Bowl meant you were awesome.
Right.
You were the Big Ten champion, and bam, there you go. Now, granted, it changed. They're not the champion, but they're playing in the Rose Bowl.
Right. If I was not an Ohio State fan in the Big Ten and my team wins the Rose Bowl, I'm very happy. But it's just, again, expectation. So moving on. Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Minnesota versus West Virginia, December 28th. December 29th, Maryland against Virginia Tech, the New Era Pinstripe Bowl. So good for Maryland getting to a bowl game. Yes. The Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl. I don't know about the Trans-Perfect part, but I have heard of the Pinstripe Bowl. I have heard of the Music City Bowl. So that's,
you know how I feel about these bowl games, youngster.
I know you do. I know. I'm basically with there. Not as much, but I'm basically with you. Purdue, Tennessee, December 30th for the Music City Bowl. I do like, Troy, when a Big Ten team plays an SEC team. It's more interesting than Purdue playing Wyoming. It's just more interesting because of that, I guess, college football battle for which conference is best. Again, at the end of the day, I don't care if the Big Ten goes 9-0 or 0-9 in bowl games. It means nothing unless you're in the college football playoff. Then it's completely different. But in terms of record and who wins, I literally, I don't care if the Big Ten annihilates every SEC team by 50. It's a bowl game. You're playing backups. You're playing seniors. You're doing trick play. It's an exhibition game. So some teams play it differently than others. But I don't hold wins and losses to mean anything at all. I don't care what team it is against whatever team. I don't care unless it's the playoffs.
Because, you know what, youngster, you look at it, a team like Wisconsin, so what's the purpose of this game?
Right.
To let some seniors play because it's their last game and to do their audition tape for the NFL.
Yeah.
But Paul Chryst is probably going to look at, okay, I need to replace this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. I need to get him some playing time in a game. And there might be some guys that are headed to the NFL that are going to be like, you know what, Coach? I'm going to be drafted in the NFL. I don't think I want to play. And I'm going to tell you what, and you know this, youngster. You and I talked about this. I am now full circle on this. When it first happened, when guys were sitting out, I was pissed off. I'm like, how can you do that to your team? How can you do that? Now I'm looking at it going, you know what? It's a business. And if I am told I'm going to be drafted in the NFL, why would I play in a meaningless game? Now I can see sitting out of a college football playoff game. That's a little bit different to me. But if I'm a Badger and I'm going to get drafted in April, and I'm like, what am I going to get out of playing in this game? The scouts have my tape. They're telling me I'm a fourth-round draft pick. What am I going to do? Play great in this bowl game and be a late-end third-round draft pick? What's the difference? So I'm there with you. But you have to admit, though, youngster, I've come full circle on that because I was really against it when it first happened.
By the way, I appreciate, seriously, I do appreciate that you're able to do that. I think I'm able to do that as well. I don't have something off the top of my head that I can pull out as an example, but I do appreciate that for human beings who are able to believe in something and then change their mind completely and believe the opposite, whether it's for good, for bad, whether it's a sports take, whatever it is. I think it's healthy to be able to do that. So I applaud you for that, Troy. The next game I was going to bring up was Wisconsin, Arizona State, December 30th in the Las Vegas Bowl. So
we'll watch a minute.
10:30. Well, there you go. 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you wanted
10:30 p.m. So that's the thing. 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. 9:30. You think I got better things to do at 9:30?
Oh,
I really do.
No. Anyway, the Outback Bowl, Penn State, Arkansas, January 1st. Good for you.
Oh yeah, that'll be. There's another fun one.
That's at least a game that you have heard of. That's where a good Big Ten team goes, is the Outback Bowl every year. And you play an SEC team. At least it's somewhat of a tradition. Like the Las Vegas Bowl is not a tradition. The Outback Bowl, there's always a good little Big Ten.
Well, I could go. So here's the thing, youngster, though. I could look online. I could go to the Las Vegas Bowl as a Badger fan just to be in Las Vegas and go gamble for a couple days.
You should come to the Outback Bowl, Troy. That's an hour away from my place.
Well, if Wisconsin was there, maybe I would.
There we go. But anyway. So Outback Bowl, Penn State, Arkansas, January 1st. Also on January 1st, the Citrus Bowl, Iowa, Kentucky. The Peach Bowl, Michigan State and Pitt. That'll actually be interesting. Again, it's a bowl game. It's an exhibition game. I don't know how playing time is going to be allotted, but the matchup is theoretically interesting, Michigan State and Pitt, because Pitt can throw the ball around. It's a fun little team this year. And Michigan State prides itself on running and defense, and I'm curious what Kenneth Walker will do in terms of will he play, how much will he play, because, again, he's a guaranteed NFL back after what he's done. So it'll be interesting to see. But that game is December 30th, January 1st, the Rose Bowl, Ohio State and Utah. Again, it's the Rose Bowl, so it's interesting from that perspective. And then the last one is the Orange Bowl, which is the College Football Playoff National Semifinal between number 2 Michigan, number 3 Georgia. We're going to
watch that one.
That game. Yeah, I'll watch that one too. The only, by the way, I think it is weird that semifinal games happen on December 31st, and we're sitting here talking about like the Citrus Bowl on January 1st. I think it's kind of weird, but we'll talk more about Michigan, Georgia. For sure.
Well, you want to know my thought on that, youngster, is that actually came up last year when I was at work. Like, why are these playoffs on New Year's Eve? Because everybody has off on January 1st. I mean, think about it. Everybody has off on January 1st. So they're going to do it the night before so you can get snockered, schnooked up, go to the bars, do whatever you want, cheer your team, because the next day, all you got to do is get up and turn on the Las Vegas Bowl or the Outback Bowl or the I mean, I don't care about those bowls, so I'm not even turning on football. I'll probably turn on like Ren and Stimpy or South Park or something like that.
Ren and Stimpy.
You don't even remember that, do you? Look it up. Look it up.
I'll have to.
Look it up. That is old man. That is old man cartoon show.
All right.
Look it up.
Ren and Stimpy. It sounds funny.
That's a real thing. That is a real thing.
I believe you. So we will talk about Michigan and Georgia more down the line when the time comes, again, 3 weeks from now. The last question for this show, Troy, again, we can make this show 10 hours, but we're not. The last thing I wanted to bring up was college football playoff rankings. Did you have any issue with Alabama being 1, Michigan 2, them dropping Georgia to 3, and not having Alabama play Georgia right away in the semifinal game? Like, how do you think that? Are you cool with how that played out? Alabama plays Cincinnati in the first semifinal, Michigan, Georgia in the other. Like, is that fine for you?
Well, you knew it was not going to come down to Alabama, Georgia again. You knew that was not going to be the first game. So this is my problem with this whole human thing. They've tried to set this up to have Alabama, Georgia play again for the title.
Well, no, I think it's correct though. I think that's
it is though.
Like
whether you
think Cincinnati's third or Georgia's third, I don't care, but I would rather see Michigan play Georgia than Alabama play Georgia again right away. If Alabama wins and Georgia wins, so be it. Then fine, they're deserving to play again. But I would rather see Michigan play Georgia as opposed to Alabama play Georgia. That's just
my
me.
whole
and
point.
I think that's
well, that's the thing, though, youngster. My point is, I think the committee, when they did the ranking, they actually thought about that. They're like, well, okay,
Absolutely.
Georgia was number 1. Let's not have them play in the semifinal. Let's have it be the final. And that's why Michigan went to 2. I mean, they jumped from, 5 to 2? That's where they were at. Correct?
Well, that was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Michigan was 2 going into the Big Ten title game. They were number 2 last week. They were 5, and then they beat Ohio State.
Yeah, and then they went to 2. Okay.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, if you're Alabama and you beat the number 1 ranked team, I have no problem with them going to number 1. I really don't.
Right. Yeah, whether it's Michigan at number 1 or Michigan at number 2, like you can nitpick and say, gee, Michigan should have been number 1. That way they can play Cincinnati, and have a better chance at getting to the title game as opposed to playing Georgia and then playing in the title game. Whatever. Like, at the end of the day, either you're the best team in the country and you're going to prove it, or you're not. That was always my thought as an Ohio State guy. Again, that I feel like this is the most I've ever said, oh, I'm an Ohio State fan, ever on a show that we've done over the last 6 years.
My whole thing is, youngster, I just hope Cincinnati can hold their own. I mean,
who's
great for them
Troy,
to be in this playoff.
outside of Alabama fans, who in the world is not rooting for Cincinnati?
I mean, I just want them to hold their own, though. I really do.
I want them to win 59-0.
This could be Well, yeah, I want them to win, too. I mean, you know me. I'm an underdog guy.
That's what I'm saying.
And I can't wait until we do the preview show. And you know what's going to be so hard is I'm not going to look at any lines. I'm seriously not looking at them until we preview this. They're probably out there already, but I'm not going to look.
Do you want to know what it is now as opposed to 3 weeks from now? And I'll let you.
All right.
It's up to you.
Let's do it now. Let's do it now. So, and then again, I'm a betting guy, but I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to say right now the line, Alabama, Cincinnati is Alabama by 13.5.
Let me look. Hold on. You say 13.5?
Yep.
Are you sure you didn't look at this before?
I didn't take one look at it.
Well, it is 13.5. That's what it opened.
Woo! Woo!
There you go. So nicely done there.
I've been good, youngster. You have to admit, this year I've been really good on these spreads. You have been scary good at times, like picking back-to-back exact spreads. Well, let's see if I can do it now. I'll probably be way off on Michigan, Georgia, but I'm going to say Georgia. I'm going to say Georgia by 7.5.
No, that's as close as you can be without hitting it. They're -7. That would have been my guess too. Was a touchdown favorite. So yeah, Georgia -7. So.
See, why do Vegas people do that shit? What is 7 points? So I take Georgia and 7. They win by 7. I don't win. That's
you get
bullshit.
Your money back, Troy. Fantastic.
Yeah, I get back my whatever I put in. Do it 7.5. Make it harder.
The lines always move. You want to guess the over/under? Michigan, Georgia. This is interesting.
Over/under is going to be 48.5.
That's 43. That's very low. Because again, Georgia's defense is supposed to be this godly defense, and then meanwhile Alabama put up 40 on them. So I thought that was funny. I don't. Here's the thing, Troy, is that Georgia's defense is elite, but we talk about this every year, this time of year, that Clemson's defense can be elite. Alabama's defense can be elite. Ohio State's defense can be incredible. But if Ohio State plays Deshaun Watson in Clemson, they play Trevor Lawrence in Clemson, they play whatever NFL quarterback in Alabama, they play whatever NFL, Kyler Murray in Oklahoma, you're going to give up 30, 40 points. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I don't see Michigan scoring 30 or 40, but honestly, that Michigan, like you said, this is a good Michigan team. I see them scoring 21 or 24 points.
And I think that can be enough. We're not previewing this game full on here, but I think that Michigan has a real chance to win because I think Michigan can score 24, 27. Right, exactly. They've got two pass rushers who are really good. They're easily NFL guys, and they're the number one from a stat perspective. They're the number one pass rushing duo in terms of sacks in the country this year. Hutchinson's the first rounder for sure. The other guy, I forget his name, but they're both fantastic. And so if you have that against an offense in Georgia that's mostly ground and pound, Bennett, the quarterback, can throw. They obviously have weapons. They're Georgia. But Georgia's offense is not ridiculous. And so, I think Michigan can hold them in the 20s. And, yes, I think Michigan can run the ball decently. They don't turn the ball over. I think they can score in the 20s as well. I think they can win. I do.
You know what?
Maybe
because maybe it's 24-20. Well, even 24-21, it's over. I just look at. 43. You're talking 21-17.
Yeah.
My God, I think that's low. I might have. Now I can bet. I can legally bet in Wisconsin. I might have to go take. Well, in 2 weeks it could change. All right, so now what do you want me to do? Over-under on Cincinnati, Alabama?
Sure. I have to find that one, though.
52.5.
I'd have to look it up. I just found that Alabama's number 2 receiver is out for the year. That definitely hurts their offense. I'll see if I can find it here. Hold on. Alabama, Cincinnati.
Actually, I'm going to change that. 54.5.
What do you think actually happens in that game? Do you think Alabama just blows them out?
I want Cincinnati to, like I said, I want them to. And I'll be rooting for them, but let's be real.
My guess would be Alabama wins by 2 or 3 scores. I think Cincinnati is a really good team, but I think Alabama wins by 2 or 3 scores.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Let's be real. Let's just be real. It is a great Cinderella story for Cincinnati making the playoff. But as I said before, they're
deserving of being there.
But here's
again,
the thing, youngster.
Difference.
If this game is 56-10, you're not telling me that a year or 2 years from now, when you have another team on the Cincinnati verge that is 1 loss or undefeated,
yeah, I know,
that committee is not going to think about that?
Yeah, that's a problem.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
That's why I want them to hold their own, because they are deserving. They're undefeated. They should have a shot.
That's the problem.
David versus Goliath. Here we go.
That's the problem in college football, Troy, though, is that the number 1 team compared to the number 4 team, usually it is a 2 or 3 score difference. I mean, we see that every year. These semifinal games are usually blowouts, like they usually are. Sometimes Oklahoma will play like a Georgia, whatever it is, Alabama, and they'll score 35. They'll lose, 45-35, so technically it's close. But at the end of the day, Alabama's obviously better. And then the other semifinal is like a 30-point game. These semifinal games are they're very rarely very close games.
They are.
They go either way.
The thing is, though, youngster, as they expand the playoff in the future, that's my concern. If Cincinnati lays an egg in this, it's going to hurt all of those teams in the future.
Yeah, it does.
Those teams that are on the bubble for the expanded playoff. I just want them to keep it competitive. Like, literally, they can get blown out, but let's make sure you get blown out in the 4th quarter. Let's not have this be 24-0 at the end of the 1st quarter. That's all I want. I will watch this game. I will watch this game from start until blowout.
Cincinnati is plus 1,800 to win the national title, by the way. So if you put $10 on Cincinnati to win the title, you get 180 back. That's kind of fun. It's a fun outcome.
Well, what is the line, youngster?
You lose $10. Well, to win the national title, it's plus 1,800 for Cincinnati.
No, youngster. If you put $10 on that, you're not winning 180. Add a 0 to the end.
No, if you put 100, then you get 1,800. So if you put 10, you get 180.
No, I mean, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. I was wondering. Never mind. I'm not putting money on Cincinnati.
Oh, come on, Troy. But yeah, 57.5 was the over/under there. So.
And I changed it to 54.5.
I'm sure they expect Bama to put up. I'm surprised 40. It's only 57.5. That's the thing. If Alabama puts up 40 and the spread's 14, then you're talking about Cincinnati scoring 24, 28. That's in the 60s. So, I don't know. Regardless. Anyway, anything more you want to touch on this show, Troy?
No, we went a lot longer than we should have.
Yes. Talked about a good
Well, that's because I missed you. I missed you for 2 weeks.
This was fun. This was fun.
Did the Mrs. Youngster get Inner Peak coffee in her body?
I don't know if it has been Inner Peak coffee. She's gotten, I must say, this is not a ding at Inner Peak coffee, but there's this brand that I get at the store that she just adores, and so that's her favorite. But we do have Inner Peak coffee at our place.
Well, I know she was without coffee.
Yes.
That must have made your life hell. Now she gets her coffee back, so at least that is one thing to make your life better every day.
That has certainly been a win for her, yes.
Because what was that,
No
like
question.
5 months? Was it she 5 months into her pregnancy and she had no more coffee or something like that?
I mean, basically since she started. So as soon as she knew. So, 8 months, I guess.
Wow. Whew. Now she's back. She got her coffee. She's not a gremlin anymore. I need you to look up Ren and Stimpy, though, youngster. And I was going to say this. You're going to find Ren and Stimpy, and I know you, and you're going to fall in love with Ren and Stimpy.
Uh-huh.
1991. Just go find it. Just go find it.
1991. That's when I was born. So
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So, you could have grew up with this, but I guarantee, youngster, go watch it on, or I don't know, YouTube or wherever you got to go watch it. Well, start watching Ren and Stimpy. It is so stupid you're going to laugh, but I know you're that type of guy when you see shit like that is so stupid you laugh that you like it.
Yes, correct. You are not wrong.
So, next week when we do Go Big or Go Home, I want a Ren and Stimpy critique.
I've actually, now that I look at the characters, these characters.
Yes. Yes. You've seen Ren and Stimpy.
I know of the show, yeah. I can't say that I've watched a full episode, but yeah, I definitely have seen these characters before.
I want a critique next week, youngster, on Go Big or Go Home. Sponsored by Inner Peak Coffee Studio.
Maybe
check
the daughter
them.
and I will watch.
Well, I don't know if you want her watching Ren and Stimpy.
She can't understand anything yet.
We don't know that.
Yeah, see,
I got the grandson sitting there in front of my computer when I'm doing DraftKings, and I'm talking to him, and I'm making picks, and all of a sudden I see this big smile out of his face, then a big fart, then a big pooper in his diaper. Grandpa's got to change it, but I guarantee when they're that young, I think they can understand it, youngster. I do.
They can understand some things. Yeah. Still pretty young. But.
Yeah, grandson understands when Grandpa wins and when Grandpa loses.
How old's your grandson?
3 months now.
Oh, okay.
2 months. 2.5. Early October.
Okay. So 2 months older than my daughter. All right.
They're not dating.
I know.
We're stopping that.
Yes. All right.
They might be great for each other, but the youngster and old man will stop it.
It would probably be
There's no Romeo and Juliet story there.
Yeah. Be a long-distance relationship for a while.
Yeah, well, you and I are not being related, youngster. I love you. I do. We're not being related that way.
We do love each other, but we will never be related. There you go.
All right, we got to end this. We got to stop now. All right, we want a big thank you to Inner Peak Coffee for sponsoring our studio line. Check them out, innerpeakcoffee.com. For the youngster, I am the old man. We'll get back at you next week, same place, same time. Have a good night, everyone.